A fun way to use up the scraps of yarn or yarn you bought and just ended up not making something with is to make a magic party skein. And a magic party skein is a ball of yarn that is made with just different lengths of random yarn of the same weight rolled into one. And so when you start knitting with it, you are going to magically find a new color yarn to knit with. So it's really fun. It's a seamless strand of yarn that you make with magic knots, which I am going to demonstrate now. So with your length of yarn from your party ball, you are going to lay it out flat like this. Whoops, you can tell it came from another project, which is why it's a little kinky. And pick a random color. We are going to do this blue because of contrast for the video. So this looks a little fuzzy, so I'm just going to cut off part of this just so I have a clean little strand to work with. And you are going to lay them perpendicular to each other with the ends facing in opposite directions. And how we are going to combine these into our magic knot is we are going to secure these two strands here and here, and then magically pull them tight to create one knot that's super tight and easy to work with as you are knitting with this party ball. So let's start over here. So what we are going to do is take the working white strand and we're going to go underneath the blue scrap yarn, and in a counterclockwise fashion we are going to go over the blue strand and the white strand like so, and then we are going to tuck it underneath the white and up through. Let's see, just so you have a little visual there. So we just kind of created a knot, and then we are going to pull it tight. So now we have a knot around the blue strand. Now we kind of just flipped them again, so now your working party ball yarn is at the top and your scrap yarn's at the bottom, and we're going to tie a knot around this strand. So we're going to go underneath the white strand and then clockwise this time over the two. It's kind of a tight little area I'm working with. Over the two and then up through the blue hole, and then you're going to tie it tightly there. Tie this one tightly. Now grab your blue scrap yarn, your white working yarn. Oh, and here's the fun part. Pull them. So you're pulling in opposite directions and they come together. And you will see, oh, so tiny, that there is a knot in between these two. I'm trying to focus it for you. There we go. Look at that little knot. And so when I pull the working yarn and the scrap yarn, you'll see pulling pretty hard and it's not going anywhere. So now you can cut off the two ends, and you can cut it really close to the knot, and that will keep the ends from sticking out as you work and make it look like one almost seamless strand of yarn. So now you can see it is magically two strands in one. Sorry, it's blurry. Let's fix that. There we go. Now I'm going to wind it into my party skein. Party ball, I suppose. And you can wrap as much or as little as you want because it is your party. We're just invited to it. So just wind it, wind it, wind it. See how fun it is? And the really fun part is you will have forgotten the strands that you started with, or those strands that came before this one. And so even if you don't gift it to somebody, you are going to have a little party and a ball yourself because you won't know what's coming next. All right, I think that's enough for this one because I'm ready to move on. And you are going to work in the same exact fashion. You are going to roll out a length of yarn, close your eyes and pick another color, and start all the way over again. So just to recap, let's tie our first knot over here. You go underneath your working yarn, counterclockwise over the two strands, up through the pull and grab your end. And then you're going to tie that tightly around the yellow yarn. Okay, now we're going to flip positions here. Oops. Okay, now with your yellow scrap yarn, you come up underneath, clockwise over the 2 strands. I'm going to pull up the yellow. Oh, it's so tiny. Tightly around the blue strand. And magically pull them together. Okay, and then cut off your ends. Boom. Look at that little knot. And then let's wind another length of yarn. And you just continue doing this until you have made a whole ball of yarn. 2 tips. Always work with the same weight yarn so that your projects that you knit with it is somewhat consistent. And if you are working with fingering weight yarn or any other type yarn, a typical skein is 100 grams. So you can continue weighing this on your scale until it reaches 100 grams, and then you will have approximately 400 to 450 yards if you're working with fingering weight yarn, like I am. So it is an absolute great way to get rid of your stash, and it's a fun present to give or keep for yourself as a little keepsake of all the yarn you've bought over the years. Happy party ball!